And the most worrying thing about it is that not everybody knows that they are going through this difficult time. Not everybody knows that they are going through this hurt. So this webinar is supposed to help us identify, should I say, for want of a better word, identify mental health conditions and to identify certain traits in our life that we do not even know are mental health conditions. I'll tell you a story. So one time I was doing routine alumni checks, and then I called this alumni. The guy was so active. All of a sudden, the guy went inactive. And then I called this guy and said, "Oh, Connie Love, I almost died. Oh." He almost died. If I tell you why he almost died, most of you will say that, and that's why we say don't trust women. But usually that's not the case. He had sponsored a woman abroad, and the plan was when I get there, I'll also bring you abroad. And then all of a sudden, this woman realizes that he's not good enough for me. Now, this guy was almost committing suicide till he had the courage to go and speak to certain people who helped him walk through that part, and now he's fine. So, assuming he didn't have people to help him, before he realized, he would have left a note and said that I tried my best, but life didn't allow me. And we do not want that to be your case. At Blossom, we are concerned about your mental health, your career, everything that concerns you. So that's why this webinar is so important. Before we begin, I would want a few people to share their expectations for this meeting. Why are you on the call? What are you expecting to learn? I'll begin. I think I am fine at the moment. I think I am fine. But I'm hoping that this webinar helps me identify what is wrong with me, or the thin line I'm almost crossing. Does that make sense? Kwame. I see Kwame, so I'll call Kwame first. Kwame, do you want to share the reason you are on the call? What are you looking forward to learning?
Hi, Connie Loves.
Hi.
Thank you very much. It's always a little difficult when you're put on the spot, but I've been through a couple of things myself. I've
Okay.
had a few heartbreaks when it came to your career progression. You're expecting that at a certain age you would have reached a certain point. So I'm just hoping to get a few pointers about how not to feel whenever there's disappointment.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. It makes a lot of sense. And you're the only one. There are a few other people who have said that at 25, I was thinking that I would have accomplished this and this. And they get to 25 and realize that I'm 25. Hope that at the end of the session, we'll be able to help you through that and be able to help you navigate that path. Who else wants to speak? Kwame says I put him on the spot. I don't want to put anybody else on the spot session. Anyone else? Okay, you can just lift your hand. Better still, you can unmute and speak. Okay, I see. Okay, Karen, please go ahead.
Hi, Cornelia. Good evening, everyone. So, my expectation is to actually learn how to deal with everything around me. A few weeks ago in class, I made a post for LinkedIn, and what I typed initially versus what came out in public were two different things. On paper, I literally put down my raw, unfiltered thoughts, and I told myself that I was honestly struggling because the what we are learning in class, I feel like I'm falling behind or I'm failing in some way because the kind of energy I had when I started is not the same energy I have right now. And I feel like I've let myself slack in one way or another. So this webinar is to help me actually get everything on track and come to the realization that I'm not necessarily failing, but the ups and downs are normal and it's something I have to deal with in a healthy manner. Thank you.
Okay. Hello. Can I be heard?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I didn't hear what Karen said, but I'm hoping that Angel, sorry, my network was bad for me. So without much ado, we'll hand over to Angel to take over. Angel, over to you. We hope to have a very great and a session filled with a lot of learnings. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Connie. I hope you guys can hear me. Please just write in the comments if you can hear me. Hopefully, I'm not frozen. Great. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Such a great privilege to be able to be invited to speak to you guys. Yeah, so hopefully all of us will learn a thing or two about healing, growing, and career building. Um, so first of all, yeah, like Connie Love introduced me, my name is Angel Darko. But I'm not Ghanaian. And I don't live in Ghana, but I'm married to a Ghanaian. And I love Ghana. Let me just say that. I love Ghana. And I was recently in Ghana. I think I spent a month in Ghana. And I loved it so much. In fact, I love spending time in Ghana. I think one time whilst I was there, we went to the market. I think we went to Makula Market. I was with a family friend of mine, and then eventually she kind of like stopped, and then she just started talking to me because obviously she knows that because of the work that I do, and because of the conversation that we had, it made me realize how much a lot of us are actually suffering in silence. So tonight, I'm hoping that we'll learn and then some healing. We'll begin to allow to go into the journey of healing. So without me wasting much time, like I said, my name is Angel. I'm a mental health nurse. I'm practicing in the UK. I love mental health. I love my job. I love what I do. It puts me in a position where I get to help people. And I'm definitely passionate about speaking about mental health, especially in the African community. So anytime I get the opportunity to speak to our people about mental health, it makes me so happy because there's such a huge stigma when it comes to mental health. Nobody really wants to speak about it, but it's quite important, and a lot of people are affected, especially like in Africa. I'm African as well, so so when I say especially in Africa, you realize that we tend to spiritualize quite a lot of things. So even when it's time for people to actually speak about mental health, it's such a taboo. Nobody can actually freely. Maybe now things are kind of like changing, which I like, but I still feel like it could be better. So people can, seek help because a lot of people, like I said, are suffering in silence. So yeah, such an honor to be able to speak about this. So today we'll be speaking about healing, growing, and career building. Being a mental health nurse, I've seen so much, I've experienced so much as a nurse. When you are in a position where you get to see people in such a vulnerable position, it's such an humbling sight. I hope I'm not speaking too fast because anytime I'm speaking, people always tell me that I'm speaking too fast. So if I'm speaking too fast, just type in the comment and say, Angel, slow down, and I'll slow down. So, like I was saying, being a nurse, it has actually put me in a position where I get to see people in their vulnerable state. And sometimes it can get to you as a nurse because you're just like, I wish you can recover. I wish things were different for you. But it's the reality of a lot of people. Obviously, in places like the UK, where I'm practicing, in America, different places in the Western world, we've got mental health hospitals, we've got different support services that people can access. But then when you go back to our beloved continent, there is limited access to support. People don't even want to speak about it, let alone being able to find, support that can help you in case you are actually struggling with your mental health. But I believe that having such a space such as this, that Blossom Academy, has created, I think it's a good start for us to begin to speak about mental health. So anyways, we'll begin. So today, healing, growing, and career building. First of all, I just want to say that many people, forgive me. I've got a presentation. So when you see me looking, I'm looking about what I need to say because I don't want to forget my key points. So many people, have building careers, but then they're still carrying unresolved trauma. So sometimes the greatest, problem that a lot of young people face, it's not that, it's not the lack of, talent or the lack of giftings, or not them not being intelligent, but sometimes it's literally experiences that they've experienced from their childhood that is not allowing them to move forward. So unresolved trauma. And one thing that people need to know is that before you can actually grow as a person and build a successful career, some healing need to take place. You actually need to heal. First of all, even before you even heal, you need to understand what healing is. So today, just briefly, I will be speaking on healing. Whilst I was preparing for this talk, obviously, I went to look up what healing mean, and I think I found one definition from the dictionary, which I really loved, and it can definitely relate to the work that I do. So basically, what does healing mean? Healing means that the natural process of restoring health, wholeness, or balance after a disruption. In fact, when I was reading this definition, I was just like, whoa. So healing means a disruption has happened, and now healing needs to take place. So meaning that, healing represents restoration, wholeness, balance, and recovery after a disruption. And I think when I was reading it, I kind of like paused on disruption because I was just thinking, I'm like, this is interesting. And specifically today, I wanted to focus on childhood trauma. So basically, to simply put it, childhood trauma is basically painful experiences during our childhood that affect our mind and our emotions. So that can include people that have gone through abuse when they were young, neglect, rejection, loss, violence, or just really growing up in a very unstable environment. This can lead to childhood trauma. And one thing that I want you guys to know is that trauma is not only about what happened to you, but sometimes it's about what you lacked whilst you were growing up. And definitely one of the saddest things that I personally have heard and have experienced is a lot of young people actually, when you speak to anyone really deep down and speak to people, they will tell you that they've been abused when they were young, whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's physical abuse, somehow at some point they've been abused. And mostly what you get to find out is that some of these experiences are from close, relatives. So when you've experienced that as a child, and as you grow into your adulthood, I want you to know that it will follow you. So for somebody, perhaps maybe you've experienced, sexual abuse when you were young. Maybe you've experienced neglect, you've experienced rejection, you've experienced loss, violence. These things, whether you believe it or not, they do affect you as you grow into your adulthood. I remember one of the people that I was speaking to, because I speak to quite a lot of young people, and then they'll come to sessions that I'm doing. Then after they'll be messaging me, they'll be telling me that, Angel, I've been sexually abused. I was, excuse me to, let me not even say excuse. They'll tell you that I've been raped. I was raped when I was this, da, 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 da. And now because of the experiences that they've experienced, it's now showing up into their adult life. So because they've not been able to deal with that trauma because of what they experience, even now when they begin to build relationship, it affects how they relate to people. It even affects how they, try to build their career. So for anybody that is on this platform, perhaps you've experienced some sort of abuse. Maybe you never had the opportunity to speak to anyone. Maybe you've kept it from the time that it happened in your childhood. You've never spoken to anybody. I want you to know that it's about time that you actually speak to someone, because one thing that I'm always telling people is that just because you don't talk about something, it doesn't mean that it's going to disappear. So certain things such as childhood trauma must be dealt with. You must actually deal with it. Otherwise, it will continue to follow you like a shadow. So if you see yourself, maybe you've experienced abuse, maybe you've experienced neglect, sometimes, especially us that we're Africans, we come from, African background, Christians. So even when it's time for you to speak to someone, you can't really speak to someone because the first thing that they will tell you is that, hey, you must pray. You need to pray. Let's go to church. They don't even want to hear what you have to say, but rather they will tell you, I'm not saying that prayer is bad, by the way, I'm a Christian and I believe in prayer. But like scripture says, there's time for everything. So for some people that they've experienced these traumatic things and you've never spoken to someone, it will definitely affect you even when you want to build a career. So yes. So, and also another thing that I wanted to touch on is that trauma is not just about what you've experienced. Sometimes it's also about what you lacked whilst you were growing up. And I'll give you an example. So for some people, because I've spoken to quite a lot of people, one thing that I've realized that some people, they don't even know how to show love because they grew up in a household where their parents never showed them love. Their parents will pay for their school fees. The parents will put food on the table, but just to show love, even to hug their parents, you realize that some people, they've never hugged their dad. They've never hugged their mothers. There's no love, like they've not felt loved. So now that they're an adult, and I have some friends where, because sometimes if I really like you as my friend, I'm very touchy. I would want to hug you. But then you realize that some people, you want to give them a hug, they just don't know what to do. I'm not saying that everything is trauma, but there's always some underlying trauma there. Because how a person reacts will always tell you, will always give you some hint into their experiences. So some people, maybe you were not sexually abused. Maybe, even though you had parents, they've never really shown up for you. There's some people that they've grown up that they've had to do things for themselves. So they've experienced great milestone in their life with nobody showing up for them. And some people, they didn't even grow up with their parents. Maybe at the age of 5, they were sent to go and live with one auntie. And then they had some sort of experiences that has affected them. So even on how to deal with relationship, friendship, trying to set up their life, it has affected them. And one of the things that you realize, especially when it comes to trauma, childhood trauma, is that some people don't even realize that they have childhood trauma. Because you grew up in, a lot of us, we grew up in such an environment where there's such a huge stigma when it comes to that. So you don't even realize that, wait, this can actually be trauma because nobody talks about it. So you're not even able to identify that this may be trauma. And just because you lack awareness and you don't know what exactly is going on, it doesn't mean that it's not existing. So for sure, maybe, for some people that they've lacked certain things, it's laid up to childhood trauma. So we'll be touching on that. And just to quickly explain how trauma shows up in adulthood. One of the ways that, trauma will show up in adulthood is the fear of failure. Especially some of us that we're trying to now set our lives up, trying to get that job, trying to build that career, trying to follow that dream that we have. But because of certain trauma in our lives, there's that fear of failure because of what you've experienced now. So even when it comes to you going after opportunities, you are so scared of the unknown. Because of the trauma that you may be carrying and you've not dealt with it yet, you have that fear of failure. And when somebody has the fear of failure, even for them to take bold steps to go after their career, it's so hard. They become so comfortable in where they are. So even to go after opportunities, they just cannot do it. These are signs that somebody may be dealing with trauma because you're just scared of failing. But one thing you need to realize is that success or trying to do anything, failure will definitely come in. It doesn't mean that you should stay there. It's part of the experiences. Another ways that, trauma can show up in your adulthood is low self-esteem. There's so many people that they have low self-esteem and it's coming from childhood trauma and they don't even know. So how they even, the view that they have of themselves is so negative. So these are the people that you realize when they now grow and they start mingling with other people, what other people think of them, that becomes that is put on a pedestal. So when it comes to themselves and how they see themselves is so negative. They see themselves, I'll ask for me that, like there's a lot of things wrong with me. I'm worth nothing. Then somebody will come and tell you your worth, which is the most dangerous thing to do, especially as a young person, especially as a person that you're trying to build your life. When you give the power to people to define who you are because you have low self-esteem, you are in trouble. But then these are some of the signs for trauma: low self-esteem. You allow people to speak to you anyhow. I think I'll definitely share this experience. I think I was in Ghana. Again, because me, when I'm in Ghana, I love to go to the market. Even though it's hot, and Ghana is really hot. I think we were going to the market, and as we were walking, and then I think and then I heard somebody was shouting, calling somebody else. And I think they were saying that, Obolo. I hope I'm saying this right. But the person was saying Obolo. And then, so the friend that I was with, the person was just like, oh, it's normal. Here in Ghana, it's really normal to be calling people, it's not. I'm like, huh? Because when I asked her, I said, what does that mean? And then she told me what it means. And then she was just casual with it. And I was so shocked. I'm like, wait, how is it normal to be calling somebody Obolo and people are cool with it? They're like, oh, no, here, we don't take things to heart. I'm like, huh? Like, just imagine. You are calling somebody Obolo and it's normal, but then you don't know what happens when they go to their houses. They will begin to see themselves as less, because somebody else is now shouting, like, why is that normal? Ghana, please, why? Ghana, please tell me. I love Ghana so much, so please tell me. I was so shocked. I'm like, how is that normal? You are literally insulting somebody, and the person just like, oh, Angel, it's normal now, don't worry. It's not. I said, what if the person goes to their house and they start crying? And they don't see themselves as beautiful because somebody in the market, you don't even know where I'm coming from, because somebody in the market decided to call them Oboro. Hey, Jesus. So for me, that experience, I was just like, whoa. And then I was just like, it's such, how certain things have become the norm, because maybe we grew up in an environment where parents have made it normal. Our neighbors have made it normal. You're literally insulting someone. Somebody saying they'll call you Biggie. And that person, you have no idea how they feel. Everybody will be thinking that it's normal, but then when they go to their houses, they will start crying. They won't think that they're beautiful anymore.
It's more pressure.
You see? They will literally, they will start seeing themselves as not being beautiful, not handsome. Because somebody who has no idea of their life, you'll be surprised that some people, especially when it comes to health matters, some people, they can put on weight for health reasons. And you have no idea. And then I think a friend of mine, she was slim. And then the names that they were giving her because she was slim, I said, Ghana, where do you stand? Are you for the skinny or are you for the obolos? Because for some people, when they're skinny, what if the person has cancer? And you are shouting those names and they go home because they're dealing with the health issues that you have no idea of. These are things that end up building trauma in people. And then you realize that some people, they can't even dress up. They don't even want to dress up, because to a point where they're like, oh, what's the point of me dressing up? Because when I go out there, somebody's going to be telling me that I'm big, or somebody's going to be telling me that I'm slim. It now builds low self-esteem, because a lot of us, we've allowed things that should not be the norm to be the norm for the lack of understanding. Another sign that can show up in adulthood as a sign of trauma is people pleasing. Let me even just talk about this, because I used to be like that. People pleasing. Obviously, because I'm speaking to the majority of us guys, we're Ghanaians. Once again, I love Ghana. But then when I'm in Ghana, everything is please, please, please. I love it. I'm now part of the community that says please every second. Sometimes people have been traumatized to a point where they've become people pleasers. For somebody who is such a people pleaser, to a point where it means that they don't put themselves first. So what other people think or want, that becomes the priority. You are in the danger zone. If you are somebody that is a people pleaser on this platform, please repent by the end of this session. That will not take you anywhere. And it doesn't mean that you've got manners, or you are kind, or you are compassionate, or you are respectful. Certain people pleasing attributes is really trauma speaking, because you don't want to upset people. You don't want to get on the wrong side of people. So you'd rather be a people pleaser to bring the peace, but then inside you are actually dying, because everything is always trying to please people. These are the signs of trauma. I think, and honestly speaking, I used to be like that. For me, I don't like conflict. So when I see that something will bring some sort of issue, I like peace. I don't like problems. I would do anything to ensure that there's no conflict. But then I realized that I became such a huge people pleaser that I will do certain things, and then later when I'm by myself, I'm like, why did I do that? I shouldn't have done that, because now this thing is affecting you. So even though the person or other people have enjoyed the benefits, I'm suffering because I've done something that has pleased them, but then displeased me or worked against me. So people pleasing, everything, you are a yes man. As for you there, your girlfriend, she'll ask you for your monthly salary, you give it to her. As for you there, you want to show your boyfriend that you love him so much. When they pay you that amount of money, you are ready to give because you want to please people, whereby you've not even built your career. People pleasing. Oh, I love him so much. Take my account. I'll do more transfer. Are you okay? Whereby you've not even bought your books that you need to finish off your university semester. You're there transferring more like as if, are you Jesus Christ? These are signs. This is no this these are signs of trauma. People pleasing to the extent where, as for you there, you end up suffering. You've now transferred that more money to the person, but then you are now suffering. You're now disturbing your parents. Oh, can you people send me some more money? My monthly allowance has finished. Now I'm even doing sound like a Ghanaian. That's what happens when you marry one. Another sign is anxiety. People have anxiety. These are signs of trauma, isolation. That's another thing. You have people, for example, for somebody, one of the signs that, this may be trauma is that person that love to isolate themselves, even though they're in a group of people, maybe they're even at work, in a community, but as for them, they're so reclusive. They like their own personal space. But then, the Bible says too much of everything is bad, right? So obviously, yeah, there's time for you, you can isolate yourself, do your own thing. But then when it begins to affect your daily life, that's a sign of trauma. Some people love to hide behind, I'm introvert, you have trauma. You don't trust people. You don't want to build relationship because of your past experiences that you've experienced. When it comes to building relationship with people, as for you there, you don't want. You do anything to isolate yourself. So even when you are at work and they're telling you, we're having, everybody's getting together for after work to go and chill, just to relax. It's as for you that you say, I'm going home. You will never stay for any meeting since you started working for that company. These are some signs. I'm not saying that everything is trauma, but these are some of the signs that can tell you that maybe somebody has trauma. Isolation to a point where it affects you, where you don't even know how to be in a community with people. Another thing is that you have trust issues, difficulty trusting others. That's a big one. One of the signs for you to know that, somebody has trauma or has experienced some sort of trauma in their life and it's affecting their life is difficult trusting others. I'm not saying that you should go and trust everybody else. But as for you there, you don't trust anybody. How will you build relationship with people? Because you've been hurt in the past and, maybe a certain relationship that you were in has traumatized you to a point where you no longer want to build a relationship with people. As for you there, around you, you've built a gate. Nobody can enter. Because of what I've experienced, I don't want to be friends with anybody anymore. I don't want to talk to people anymore. Even when your parent or your boss is speaking to you, you'll be like, okay, You don't trust to a point where once again, it's affecting your relationships. You don't even know how to, how to build healthy relationship as well because you don't trust anybody. Like I said, it doesn't mean that, you should trust everybody. But then if you can't trust anybody at all, these are signs that you may have trauma because you're scared of being hurt again. But that's not healthy for you. Now, on how I can relate this to your career, trauma and career development, especially when it comes to maybe us, in our workplaces or careers that we're trying to build. Another sign of somebody having trauma is the fear of applying for opportunities. So even when opportunities are there, you are so scared. You're scared that, let me not even try this. They will not take me. You've rejected yourself before they even reject you. The fear of applying for opportunities because you are scared of rejection. Because of some sort of rejection that happened maybe a long time ago. Now, even to do anything for yourself, you are scared. As for you, there you see an opportunity that you like. Maybe you're on LinkedIn and you've seen that, this is nice. I want to do this. But then when the time comes for you to apply it, you're literally scared. Because you've now rejected, you've interviewed yourself and you've said to yourself, you're not qualified, don't do it. Rejecting yourself before they even reject you. Why? You are literally depriving yourself of opportunities because you are so scared of what's going to happen. You're scared of the rejection. Once again, I said, when it comes to career building or even just trying to build your life up, you have to be able to experience failure. You have to be able to experience rejection. Don't be scared of rejection. But trauma will tell you to be scared of rejection. Don't listen to it. Another sign, especially when it comes to trauma and career development, is the lack of confidence at work. As for you there, the question that your manager is asking, you know the answer, but you won't talk. You know that you are smart, but because of the trauma, even when it comes to you speaking up, you don't want to speak. And then somebody else who has no sense will now say some answer because they've heard it somewhere. And then they'll take the shine because you've decided not to speak. You've become silent. You've become mute. And opportunities are literally passing you by because you lack confidence. That even when it comes for opportunities for you to show what you can do, you can't even do it. Because these are times that managers or team leaders, they will see what you can do. They're able to observe what you can bring to the table when you speak up. But then if you don't speak up, how are you expecting opportunities to come to you? But then again, nobody would even know that you have trauma. Another thing that, another trauma and career development is burnout. Some of you don't even know the meaning of rest. As for you there, you love the name, you call yourself I'm a hustler. You have 5 jobs. You don't know how to rest. Some of you are running like a yo-yo. It doesn't mean that you're hardworking. It's trauma. Trauma is making you go up and down. You don't even know how to relax. Relax. When it's time to relax, even God himself, he rested after 7 days. On the 7th day. But as for you there, you everywhere. You are literally everywhere and nowhere. That's trauma keeping you up. So some of these signs is literally you just be doing the most. Even things that will not benefit you, you will find yourself there because you just want to be there. Because when you sit down, your trauma will be telling you, don't sit down, or you fell. You know your mom failed. You know your father failed. You know your uncle failed. You know in your family, you people have been failing. You better get up. Learn to relax. Learn to rest. Because if anything happens, and you keep going up and down, up and down, up and down, and one day, God forbid, you drop down and you die. Next. Companies don't care about you. The moment you are no longer able to come to that workplace, they already have somebody ready to start. Especially one thing that I would say, being a mental health nurse in the UK, we work quite long hours. And it's not like a peaceful shift because it's a mental health nurse. are working with people that have mental health issues. They're mentally ill. So it's not your everyday kind of like day. Anything can happen. You be there, and somebody. I think I remember one time I was working. As I'm working, somebody came. I think I did braids. As I'm sitting down there, I think I was watching another patient. One of the patients just literally came and dragged my braids, dragged me to the floor, gave me one hot slap I'll never forget. I nearly quit. I said, Jesus, take control. You know, when somebody slap you hard, it's like you have to come back to reality. And then I was just like, did they just slap me? I would have collapsed. I wouldn't even be here speaking to you guys. So when it comes to my work, when it's my day off, don't even stress me. I will sleep. One of my sisters, she's always telling me that as for me, that I love sleeping. I love sleeping because I know what I face when I'm at work. So when it comes for the time for me to rest, I will rest before I go to the next shift and they'll go and slap me. And that was not even the first time that I've experienced. One time, once again, I think I was on a night shift. I was talking to this man. He was a patient. And we were literally just because when it comes to mental health environment, you don't know what can happen. You can be speaking to a patient normal, and then the next thing, it will shock you. I think I was speaking to him about medication or something like that. And he was responding to me normal. The next thing is he gave me a hot slap. I blacked out. My manager had to come. So when they now be calling me, Angel, come for extra, I said, it's okay. I mean, I do like extra shifts, but please don't work to a point where you burn out. Some of you don't kill yourself for your family. That you do the most. You can't even rest because you're trying to. But obviously, I do understand that some of us, we do come from, backgrounds where we really have to go the extra mile. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't rest when it's time for you to rest, because this can affect your mental health. And sometimes one thing you get to learn, especially in mental health, your body speaks. Your body will tell you, I'm tired. And when your body tells you that your body is tired, you better listen to it. Because you can drop down at any time and then everybody will move on. After your funeral, Ghanaians, they love funeral. They will dance, 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 and then they move on. We will dance. We'll come to your funeral. We'll dance, 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 dance. We'll eat jollof. We'll eat the wache, the chicken, the shito, and we'll move on after 2 weeks. Another sign of trauma and career that can show up in your career development is communication difficulties. I think I spoke about this, where you find it so hard to communicate. As for you there, because you grew up in an environment where nobody would ever listen to you. As for you there, especially in our African community, they will tell you that when your elders are speaking, you better be quiet and respect them. Yes, I'm not saying that don't disrespect them. But then as for you, you've always been shut down. So you've lost your voice. So even now that you've grown, you are now an adult. It's time for you're in an environment where you have to speak up. You can't even communicate. So even when people are walking all over you, you cannot even communicate. You just let it slide. These are signs of some, trauma. Some people have experienced trauma. And another thing that I'll speak on is the fear of making mistakes. Yeah, I'm guilty for this. As for me, I think somehow I'm kind of like a perfectionist. For me, when I see that, as for this thing there, I may end up making mistakes, I get scared because I'm thinking I don't want to disappoint people. The fear of making mistakes, but then making mistakes is part of life. So anytime maybe I find myself where in my mind I'm saying that, Angel, if you do this, you're going to make mistakes. People are going to be upset with you, blah, blah, blah. I have to speak to myself and said, Angel, making mistake is part of life. I'll give you an example. At my workplace, we have one of my deputy ward manager. Like, she really likes me. And then, so for me, I have issues when people start praising me. That's my trauma. When people start telling me, oh, Angel, you're doing so well. Oh my gosh, Angel, I'm like, hey, stop right there. Because now you're putting pressure on me. Now I'll be thinking, if I now make mistakes, these people, they will crucify me next after praising me. But then that is also part of trauma. Maybe because of the things that I've experienced where 1 minute people are praising you and the next minute people are, they've now come against you. that can lead to trauma, because now you have the fear of making mistakes. So even when people are giving you compliments, you don't want to take it because you're scared. What if they now end up changing their mind? What if I don't perform to their standard? What if I end up making mistakes? What will happen? Will they still praise me, or will they crucify me? These are signs of somebody having trauma, and that can work against you even in your workplace or your career that you're trying to build. So these are some of the signs. So I hope I'm still not speaking fast. Now let's talk about healing from trauma. I've kind of like named certain things that can lead to trauma and how it shows up in our adulthood. Let's talk about healing from trauma. One of the ways that somebody can heal from trauma, number one thing that I'm always telling people, you have to acknowledge that you have unresolved trauma. There's no way that you can overcome a thing if you do not acknowledge that it exists. That's number one. Actually sit down with yourself. Maybe you've seen yourself, you know yourself better than anybody else. Maybe there's certain patterns that you've recognized about yourself. Sit down and think, okay, like, is this trauma? Like, what are the things that trigger me? Okay, because a lot of us, we like to pretend like we don't have trauma. As for you, I think Connie Love was speaking that she's fine, or maybe not. Connie Love, maybe you're not fine. In mental health, they will tell you that everybody's mad. All the nurses, in fact, you have to be a mad person, and God forbid, I'm not mad. Hey, I reject it. Words are powerful. But I want you to know the number one thing you have to do. You have to acknowledge that you need some help. You have some trauma imprints that have been showing up in your adult life. I think one of the members, one of the participants, I forgot his name. He spoke when Connie Love was speaking, and he spoke about recovering from when you get rejected. I think for me, I like that because because that can be a sign where it can affect you when you've been rejected so many times. So even to now go after another opportunity that will come, it brings you down. Like, you need to really pep talk yourself. You need to build that confidence again to get to that point. But healing from trauma is actually accepting that, I know what I've experienced when I was in my childhood. I know whether it's your childhood, whether it's something that you experienced whilst you were an adult, you have to acknowledge it. You cannot overcome something that you don't acknowledge. And just because you don't acknowledge, or you're pretending like something is not there, it doesn't mean that it's not there. It's there. You are just choosing not to acknowledge it. Especially in our African community, what they will tell you, when you tell them, even if you go to your parents, your auntie, whoever you speak to, and you tell them that, oh, mom, I'm struggling with my mental health, they will tell you, God forbid, hey, let's go to church. You're not struggling with your mental health. But it is a reality. Just because you're saying God forbid, it doesn't take it away until you deal with it. So being in denial that you need help will not help you. So number one, acknowledge that I need help actually. I've seen certain things about myself that I need to work on. And these things are affecting my life as an adult. So acknowledgement. Another ways to heal from trauma, you can go to therapy or you can go to counseling. I think I was speaking to a group of young ladies, and then I spoke about going to therapy or counseling, and they were like, Angel, we don't have money to pay for counseling and therapy. And it's true. Some people are in a position where they cannot afford therapy or counseling. And we can't pretend like, that's not a reality for certain people. But then if you can afford therapy or counseling, please, I beg you, go for it. It doesn't make you, if you're a Christian, it doesn't make you less of a Christian. If you're a Muslim, it doesn't make you less of a Muslim, or whatever you believe in. Because especially Christians, we like to pretend like if you go to therapy, it now means that you don't believe in God and the power of God. But God created therapists. God created counselors, and he can still work through them. So you can go to therapy, you can go to counseling, go and receive some counseling. When I got married, we had to do some pre-counseling session. And then when we're speaking, our counselor was a man of God. And when he was speaking to us, he started speaking to me and my husband about some certain things. And I was just like, oh my God, like this is so important. So imagine now if I was in my mind where I'm like, hey, we cannot go to counseling. This is not right as a Christian. You'd miss certain things that you need to know. For the lack of knowledge, people perish. So counseling or therapy is not demonic, please. I mean, there's certain people, when they do it, it's coming from a demonic source. So be careful with that. Another thing, for maybe for some of you that are Christians, like I said, I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. You know, having faith and also praying as an addition can help you, because prayer can guide you. You know, when you go and you pray and you bring your burdens to God, He can even direct you to go to somebody that can give you counseling, because when it comes to therapy and counseling, certain things that are inside your body needs to be laid out. Some of you, you are struggling with your mental health because you've had nobody to speak to. Where are the firstborns? I don't know if we have the firstborns on the platform. I know firstborns. As for firstborns, especially firstborns in African homes, you have nobody to speak to because everyone is looking up to you. So even when you have your own struggles, you can't even speak to someone because you don't want people to perceive you. You don't want your own family or your younger siblings to perceive you in a way that you're not strong anymore. Please, speaking to someone or seeking help, it does not mean that you are weak. So if you can speak to someone, if you can go to therapy, go for counseling, pray as well, please do it. Do not suffer in silence. Another thing is to, go and seek safe support systems. One of my biggest dream is for us to be able to have support systems, especially in the African countries, where people can go in and seek help with no shame, with no other people making it look like it's a taboo, or with having no stigma around it. Now, when it comes to seeking, safe support systems, you have to really be careful with that, because you'll be surprised that you have somebody on the platform right now listening to me. And as soon as they finish, like, oh yeah, Angel spoke about speaking to someone. Let me now go and tell my best friend. What if your best friend does not have the capacity to listen to what you've been through? Because it's not everybody that has the capacity for you to share your trauma to. Sounds like I'm preaching, but I'm not preaching. So when it comes to safe stuff, if your best friend, listen, part of having a healthy relationship with people is that when you have burdens or you have certain things that you want to share, ask the person, oh, I've been going through this. Can I speak to you? Give the person the opportunity to tell you whether they have the capacity to speak to you, to receive what you're going, because some people, they do not, and you need to go to a professional. So just imagine I'm a mental health nurse, right? And we've got people that will be admitted into the ward. Are you telling me that, they should have stayed home for their families to help them? Their families do not have the capacity to help them. So they will now bring them to a professional environment to help them. So even comes to your daily life. Even when it comes to be speaking about certain things to people, it's not everybody you have to share it to. Some people, they just don't have the capacity to carry your trauma that you want to share, because it will end up breaking them. It doesn't mean that they don't love you or they don't value you. But even the fact that they're able to tell you that, you know what, Angel, I don't have the capacity to listen to what you've been through when you were young. But, maybe you can go, I think you should go to counseling. That's okay. Some people may not even understand. You tell somebody that, like when it comes to topics such as sexual abuse, it's not everybody that have the capacity to listen to that, because it's too much. So some people, you end up telling the wrong people, oh yeah, when I was 5 years old, excuse me to say this, my uncle used to touch me up, blah, 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 and this. And the person will be like, oh, sorry. And then they move on to the next topic. Oh yeah, have you watched that new Nollywood movie? It will shock your system, you will collapse. Because you'll be thinking, wait, I've just told you something heavy, and you've just moved on from the topic. And you are telling me about Nollywood movies on YouTube and Netflix and whatnot, and Korean movies. Sometimes people don't have the capacity to carry what you want to give them. And you have to understand that. So know who to speak to and when to speak to people. It will help you and it will help them. Another thing that will help you from healing, one of the things that will help you healing from trauma is, putting in place, having healthy coping skills. And I'll give an example. Time. I'll be finished soon. I'm nearly finished. One of the things that I'll give is having boundaries. Some of you don't even have boundaries. Anything goes. The door is open, the gate is open. No boundaries whatsoever. In fact, maybe you've never even heard of the word boundaries. Maybe you've seen it on LinkedIn or you've seen it on TikTok, but you don't really understand. It's so important, especially for somebody that may have trauma and you are now in your healing journey. Have boundaries. It will help you. Put boundaries in place. Some of you, people speak to you anyhow and you won't say anything for the lack of what? For the sake of having peace? No. Some of you, anybody will come and they'll treat you anyhow. You don't say, you are quiet. No boundaries. Listen, boundaries, they're there to protect you. They're not against, they will never be against you. And anytime that you set boundaries and people around you are not happy with it, those people are not for you. Because anybody that you have a healthy relationship and you've put certain boundaries in place, they have to respect that. Certain boundaries, it could be something as simple as you don't allow people to speak to you in a certain way or to use certain languages to you. I think I remember a friend of mine, she came to tell me that when she was having a conversation with one guy, and the person used the B word. You know how some people, they will just speak anyhow. And then she was just like, "Oh, Angel, I didn't really like it, but you didn't like it and you didn't say anything." Listen, the moment somebody does something and you don't immediately address it and call it out and set boundaries on it, Chale, it will continue. That's like giving consent to nonsense. Set your boundaries. As a lady, set your boundaries. Especially with men. As men, respect yourself, have standard, set your boundaries, even when it comes to workplace, especially workplace as well. You are a young person, you've started a new work, you are in a new environment, you want to impress everybody, you can still have your boundaries. When people are now talking about their personal information, you want to share, have boundaries. I hope that makes sense. Another big thing that I want to share when it comes to healing from trauma is you have to forgive yourself. Certain things that happened in your childhood, if you don't forgive yourself, you will not be able to heal. You have to forgive yourself and you also have to forgive others. And I know that, it's easier to tell people to forgive themselves and forgive others than to do it. But I want you to know that it's one of the keys when it comes to healing. Forgive yourself. Because some people, what happens to them is that because of certain things that happen to them, that has traumatized them, they will not begin to say, "Oh, it's because of me. I allowed it. If I didn't do this, if I didn't do A, B, C, D, this wouldn't have happened." You now start beating yourself up. Please forgive yourself for the experiences that you've experienced that you had no power to defend yourself in any way, shape, or form. Forgive yourself. And forgive other people that were involved in certain things that traumatize you. Please forgive them. I'm just going briefly because my time. Another thing that can help, obviously that was healing from trauma. Now, growing after trauma is, start rebuilding your confidence, change your mindset, learn to discipline yourself, and you need to develop emotional strength and build healthy habits. So these are some of the things. And then one key things that I want to let you know as well, growing means refusing to stay stuck in survival mode. Some of you can't even grow and build your careers healthy, in a healthy way because you are stuck in survival mode. I'll be quick. So my quick key takeaway is don't let trauma limit your potential because it can if you allow it. Because of certain things that you've experienced, you don't even want to put yourself out there. You don't even want to build new relationship with people because somebody broke your heart or because you didn't get that job. It really put you down. It broke you down that you don't even want to go for new opportunities. Do not let trauma limit your potential. Build discipline and consistency. Believe in your growth more than anybody else. Be confident when opportunities arise. Go after them. Even if they end up rejecting you, so what? Next. Now, my call to action is ensure that you face what needs healing. Some of you have childhood trauma, certain things that you've experienced that they're probably even too taboo, even to yourself. But I want you to know that it's time for you to face them. Go back to when you were young. What are some of the things that you've experienced that has traumatized you? They're now showing up in patterns as an adult. Go and face them, because in order for you to heal, for you to grow and build a life that you deserve, you have to face what you've been through and start your healing journey. Invest in your growth. Just because one organization rejected you doesn't mean that the next one will reject you. There's always going to come a time where it'll be a yes for you and not a no. Stop allowing the past to define your future. Or as for me, there, what I've experienced, I can't do this. I'm comfortable. You now become comfortable in your limitation. Please don't do that. And lastly, I want you to build the life and career that you deserve. And there's one thing that I like to leave people. I'm now finished. I'll leave everybody with this. It's a scripture that I love so much. I'm a Christian, so obviously when I do my talks, I like to have Jesus in it. So it comes from the book of Genesis 27, verse 40. And I will just kind of like summarize it. It says, when you become restless, you shall break the yoke. It's one of my favorite scriptures. Some of you, when you become restless in your traumas and you want healing to start, make sure that you rise up and break the yoke. Thank you so much. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Angel. Thank you, Angel. Thank you, Angel. While Angel was speaking, it looks as if I was thinking to myself, hey, looks like we are all going through childhood trauma. But the thing is, nobody's ready to really talk about it. So, Angel, thank you so much for the presentation. We'll take a few questions. We are behind time, so let's take a few questions. If you have any question, kindly raise your hand and we'll call you to speak. Any questions? Anybody has a question? Okay, Barbara, please unmute and speak.
Good evening. Whilst Angel was speaking, she spoke about the saying please, please, and connected it to like people pleasing. But what if there are some of us that's how we're raised? Please be kind to everyone. Just please, you are not doing it because you are pleasing someone. That's how we were raised. Is that also a people pleasing thing? Is it bad? Can we stop it? Because sometimes I try to stop it and I realize I can't stop it because it's been part of me for all these years.
Yeah, Barbara, thank you so much for asking. I think, wait, just to clarify, when I was saying, I'm not saying, I think it's part of the Ghanaian culture, which I believe. So I'm not, please don't stop. Before you people stop saying please and say, because Angel talk, I did not tell anybody to stop. I think more so, I want you to focus on working on being a people pleaser. Because people can say please, it's normal in Ghana. It's probably not normal in the UK, but it's definitely normal in Ghana. And that's fine. Please continue with it. But do work. If you feel like you are a people pleaser, forget the saying please, because that has nothing to do with people pleasing. But just work on you being a people pleaser if you are. So please. Thank you, please.
Okay, do we have any other question? Barbara, your hand is up again, or
Yes.
Okay.
I have another question. So with the whole childhood trauma and everything, some people in Ghana think that is a form of building you up, like it toughens you, so that when you go to the outside. Me, when I was in SHS, I used to have that a lot. Like people could walk up to me and tell me, "Oh, I don't like you because of your sisters," or "I don't like you," and I've not had interaction with most of these people, so I'm sometimes lost in the whole thing. Like, and it didn't bother me until it got to a certain point. So sometimes I feel like, oh, okay, it's a way to toughen me, because moving forward, the rest that came after that, oh, I don't like you because of this, I don't like you because of the, it didn't shake me at all. So I want to know, the trauma is sometimes for some people, is it a sort of toughening their character, or it's a no thing?
What I would say is, people love to use that excuse and say that it's character development. It's not. How is being abused character development? How is, really emotionally abusing someone character development? I mean, you can build somebody's character in a healthy way. When people are telling you all these sort of negative things, I don't think, like there's one thing that you've just said, Barbara. You said that later on you were not okay with it. I don't think that's healthy, but I feel like most of us, we accept it because that's the environment that we're in and everybody does it and it's the norm. But then you realize that when you go to a certain environment, it's completely different. It's not the norm. So you accepting abuse and then saying it as is character development, what it does is that it make you, in a way, it's like even if you grow up and then you face certain situations, you become more tough. It just means that you've learned to block the thing, but it doesn't mean that it won't affect your self-esteem. You can learn to block certain things that are being said to you because obviously you grew up in that environment, but it doesn't mean that it won't affect you. You'll be surprised that there's certain things that you begin to do and it will show up. I'll give you an example quickly. There's certain people that they grew up in that environment. So when they now go into marriage and they give birth, they will just be insulting their children. Oh, as for us, there you are too soft. For me, then my mom used to say these things to me and it was normal. It's not normal. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say to you. I hope this clarifies. So certain things, because we've learned to block it, it doesn't mean that it's not affecting us still. So for me, that's not character development. That's emotional abuse.
Okay, are there any more questions? I think, Angel, you said something that really got to me. Let me just quickly refer to my notes. So the portion about people pleasing, where you're trying to make everybody happy at your own expense, indirectly relating to getting a new job. This is your first time getting the job and you are new in the system. At least you want to leave the market and say that, oh, okay, I'm also very good at what I do. But in the end, we end up trying to please everybody. So when do you think we can say no? Probably you know that the workload they're giving you is more than your JD says. When do you think we should say no?
That's a good thing because a lot of people struggle with that. Obviously, it's your first time at a new job. You want to impress everyone, you want to show everyone that you can do something. But I would always advise that you are authentic. Don't pretend because if you now go into a workplace and then they start giving you quite a lot of work and you're just taking it, even if something that is not within your duties, and you're taking it because you don't want to be seen like or you're a new person and you're saying no, later on it will affect you. Because eventually people come to the end of themselves and you'll be thinking, okay, because whatever you say yes to, somehow, you would have to continue to say yes. So if you know that it's something that you know you're not comfortable with, it's better you speak up. Yes, you can respect people and still have boundaries. That is why one thing I would advise, especially if you're starting a new job, know your role, know what your job description is, so that even if somebody comes and gives you more than you are meant to do, you can be like, okay, because it's your first time, I can do this, but I want you to know that in the future, please, this is not part of my role. You can still have that established rather than you saying yes and then you end up pleasing people and then later on you end up being upset. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you. Eninam's hand is up. So since we are behind time, would our last question would be from Eninam. Eninam, kindly unmute and speak.
Thank you, Connie Love, and thank you, Angel, for all the insightful points you've shared. Please, my question, I'm still trying to frame it properly, but what's what will you do in a case where you sort of have been failed by adults when you were growing up? I don't know if you've heard of the saying that African parents are always right, and sometimes in our childhood, certain things have happened, and when you try to express yourself as a child, you are told to shush and hush and just be respectful and then go with whatever is being said. And I'm trying to link it to the point where you have to like forgive yourself and forgive others, because some of these things, I don't know, personally, I'm carrying a lot of hits. Like I replay a lot of things and I'm like, okay, so if I want to forgive them, I don't know, when we have meetings and we are trying to like wrap everything nicely, I see that the same thing is being played. Like they'll just like, oh, just let it go. Why are you still holding on to this? But I want some form of closure. But I don't know whether now, maybe as part of forgiving myself for trying to wrap everything up, I should just sort of accept that this is how it's going to be, and probably just distance myself and detach, because this is how it's going to be. But sometimes when I'm by myself, I still wish that, if only they could have acknowledged that this and this was not right, and maybe some apology, but maybe that apology is never going to come, and I feel like it's holding me back. So how do I move on from this? Yeah. Thank you.
I feel like I can definitely relate to you. One thing that I'll tell you for sure is that certain apologies will never come, and you have to accept that. But what you can do for yourself, like I said earlier on, do forgive yourself. Obviously, there's certain things, those things that happened then, you can't change what happened in the past, but then you can actually change the now. So if you see that, certain things, I don't know if you were saying that you were trying to speak to people that, did certain things to you or not. Certain people, they won't acknowledge what they've done to you, and that's okay. But you yourself, you owe yourself the responsibility to build a self environment for yourself. So obviously forgiving yourself, you don't need to, don't wait for that apology, because that will continue to hold you back. But then you can set boundaries. You can also ensure that you don't tolerate that thing that used to happen, or things that used to happen to you happen without you speaking. I believe that you are an adult now, and you can communicate, even if it's adults that you have, your relatives who are probably older than you that you're probably dealing with. You can communicate without disrespect. Obviously, people can try to use, maybe if you speak up, it's being disrespectful. No, you can actually communicate with respect, but still have your boundaries in place. Communicate that, and don't allow anything that for people to treat you like you are a child. So even if they don't acknowledge things that they've done and they're not saying sorry, that's fine. But then you are responsible for what happens to you now. And what can also help, I would say, is you really having boundaries. Have boundaries in place. Learn to forgive yourself, and really put things in place that you will not tolerate anything else. Things that used to happen before, don't allow it to happen. And you can do so without disrespecting anybody. I hope that clarifies.
Thank you so much, Angel. Thank you. Thank you. Now, thinking back, deciding to reflect on all you said, I'm like, am I going through something? Angel says, I'm going through something. I don't know. But yeah, Angel, we are so grateful for your time and coming to pour into us. And apologies in advance and for the past beatings and slaps they gave you while on duty. It's been really a great session, and we hope that we'll take this and apply it in our job. So one thing I'm taking myself is that I don't have to please people to the extent that it hurts me in the end, because you always have to put yourself first, and it's okay because it's not selfish, right? It's not selfish, right? All right. Thank you, Angel, for coming. Thank you, everybody, for joining the call. We hope that it's able to help you navigate your career path. Thank you, and have a good evening.